These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
Chaos can strike at the most unexpected moments, and The View just learned this the hard way.
Democrats in the media are now unloading all their nasty attacks on rising Trump White House star and new press secretary, Karoline Leavitt.
Over the past few weeks, a young White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, has rattled the show's entire panel and sent shockwaves across mainstream media.
Joy Behar calls her a 10.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
But what exactly did she do to spark this level of outrage? Caroline's rise came faster than anyone could have predicted. In a matter of days, she went from a lesser-known insider to a major player in political media circles, particularly after certain hosts tried to discredit her with cheap jabs about her appearance.
There will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yet, the more they attack her, the bigger she becomes. Today, we're unpacking how Caroline disrupted The View, exposed simmering hypocrisies.
How dare she objectify a woman with a dating system, but it's such a typical thing from a 1.5.
And why her no-nonsense approach has legacy outlets feeling backed into a corner. But that's only the beginning. Before we're done, you'll see exactly how The View ended up on the defensive, why identity politics are failing them, and why Caroline's bold decisions might permanently change how the press interacts with the White House. Let's jump into the story. Caroline Leavitt had been on the national stage for barely a minute when The View decided to take aim. At just 27 years old, she'd been tapped as a rising force in President Trump's circle, a woman unafraid to speak up, challenge long-standing norms, and call out biased reporting right to reporters' faces. So when her name started making headlines, the daytime panel was quick to pounce. But what the show's hosts didn't expect was Caroline's fierce readiness to fire back. In one breath, Joy Behar dismissed her presence as mere vanity, implying Caroline only got where she was because Trump considered her a 10. That's when things went south fast. Viewers were left wondering, since when does The View, a show that claims to uplift women, tear someone down for her looks? This wasn't just a small spat. It was the spark that ignited a storm. Caroline wasn't about to sit quietly and let anyone reduce her hard work to superficial attributes. She called them out on their hypocrisy in real time, suggesting they were the ones out of touch. And while Joy tried to laugh it off, the rest of the panel scrambled to distance themselves from the mess that was quickly unfolding. The moment set the tone for a power struggle no one saw coming. As the episode continued, it became obvious that the show's rhetoric about empowering women was on shaky ground. In one breath, Joy Behar wants everyone to celebrate female success. In the next, she's reducing Caroline's achievements to being a so-called pretty face. That's not just insulting, it's contradictory. Online commentators noticed right away. Social media lit up with criticisms about how The View frequently preaches tolerance and female unity, but then singles out conservative women for personal attacks. Even dedicated viewers of the show felt uneasy about the sudden shift in tone. The conversation wasn't focusing on Caroline's actual credentials, her policy positions, or her skills at the podium. Instead, the chatter revolved around shallow critiques. Suddenly, the daytime talk show that thrives on lively debates found itself in a tight spot. How could it continue branding itself as progressive and inclusive while making these backhanded remarks? And more importantly, how would Caroline respond to the swirling chaos? Well, she wasted no time exposing the double standards, calling them woke cronies who talk a big game about women's rights but fail to apply those same principles to anyone outside their political bubble. Viewers could feel the tension through the screen, and nobody was sure how the show would try to regain control. But that wasn't the whole story. In the days that followed, Whoopi Goldberg jumped into the fray, attempting to calm the fires raging online and on set. She shifted the conversation toward wokeness, desperately trying to paint it as the backbone of modern civil rights. The implication was that Caroline, by criticizing wokeness, had somehow denied the struggles of women and minorities throughout history. Caroline didn't back down for a second. She deftly pointed out that conflating an ever-shifting buzzword like wokeness with the genuine fight for equal rights is misleading at best and manipulative at worst. She argued that championing social justice doesn't require labeling every policy as woke or dividing people based on partisan lines. Whoopi kept preaching from the moderator's chair that Caroline ought to show gratitude toward the progressive movements that paved the way for a woman in the White House press secretary's role. But Caroline's stance was crystal clear. Civil rights achievements deserve respect, but modern-day woke politics often spiral into hollow identity battles. That difference, she suggested, is getting lost in the attempts to silence anyone who challenges the mainstream. The clash revealed a deep ideological gap, one that couldn't simply be smoothed over by Whoopi's motherly tone or quick commercial breaks. And that's when the focus shifted from Caroline's words to an even bigger target, the entire legacy media system. If there's one thing legacy media despises, it's being called out in front of millions. Caroline delivered a stinging rebuke of how mainstream outlets, The View included, pick and choose narratives to suit political agendas, often ignoring real concerns of everyday Americans. Her words were simple: "We will call you out when we feel your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House." And that's exactly what she's been doing. In a high-profile announcement, she revealed a plan to shake up the traditional White House press corps. For decades, mainstream giants like the Associated Press and influential TV networks have controlled the front rows and determined which questions get airtime. Under Caroline's watch, 2 front row seats have been reallocated to newer media voices. At the same time, hundreds of previously revoked press passes are being reinstated, ensuring a broader range of journalists can ask challenging questions, not just the usual suspects. Naturally, the View panel wasn't thrilled. Having dominated daytime talk for years, they faced the unsettling possibility that alternative voices would undermine their authority and question everything from their spin on daily events to their facts about policy decisions. Sunny Hostin openly scoffed at the thought of new media replacing long-time legacy sources. Whoopi lectured about the risks of letting just anyone ask questions, ignoring the fact that many of these legacy outlets have been caught pushing incomplete or biased stories time and again. Caroline's move signals a shift in power, a direct challenge to those who believed they could go unchecked. And that's not even the final bombshell. When The View realized their credibility was on shaky ground, some of the hosts tried a familiar tactic, cornering Caroline with a gotcha question. This time, the subject was illegal immigration. They expected her to stumble or dodge. Instead, she flipped the entire narrative. The panel asked for a breakdown of the immigrants arrested since President Trump returned to office, insinuating that focusing on illegal immigration was unfair and might be targeting vulnerable populations. Caroline's response was simple and powerful. If someone crosses the border illegally, that act itself is a crime. No more, no less. She emphasized that the administration prioritizes law-abiding citizens who follow legal channels rather than those who flout the rules. This seemingly straightforward logic left the hosts reeling. They tried to pivot, claiming that calling illegal entry a crime might not align with this new culture of compassion. Caroline reminded them that a functioning society operates on rules. The real question, she argued, was whether The View cared more about virtue signaling than genuine policy solutions. The exchange ended with several panelists looking visibly frustrated. They couldn't label Caroline as heartless without sounding dismissive of legal processes. Their ambush attempt fizzled, and she left them with no easy angle to attack, only a clear, unwavering stance. But there was a deeper motivation here that mainstream media did not see coming. At its core, this isn't just about Caroline versus The View. It's about a massive media shift. Shows like The View have long thrived by setting the tone for daytime audiences, shaping opinions, and defining what counts as news. Meanwhile, Caroline's emergence suggests that many viewers are ready for an alternative. They're tired of the same recycled talking points, half-truths, and sensational headlines that always seem to sideline the real issues. When Caroline directly accused mainstream outlets of losing public trust, she was speaking to a palpable frustration. An increasing number of people feel that the biggest voices in media care more about pushing a partisan angle than delivering honest facts. By championing new media seats in the White House and calling out misinformation in real time, Caroline effectively put these outlets on notice. And The View realized the threat to their established platform almost immediately. Their flustered responses, personal insults, and ideological grandstanding aren't just random moments of drama. They reveal a deeper fear, losing control of the narrative. If younger, bolder voices gain traction, and if the White House itself begins to encourage diverse reporters, where does that leave an older talk show that's built on selective perspectives? Caroline's approach underscores a transformation in how Americans consume news, and that shift doesn't favor legacy gatekeepers. Each time the panel tried to corner her, they instead ended up highlighting their own contradictions. And the public? They're taking note. So, what's the final takeaway? A newcomer to national politics has waltzed in, refused to play by the usual rules, and disrupted one of daytime TV's biggest platforms. Caroline Leavitt not only exposed the hypocrisy of certain hosts, but also championed a broader fight, one that questions whether legacy media outlets deserve the power they've held for so long. By tackling immigration, calling out wokeness, and pushing for new media access, Caroline forced The View to confront its own inconsistencies. She reminded us all that claiming to support women's rights doesn't mean much if you immediately tear down a woman for her appearance. She exposed how easily genuine civil rights struggles can be twisted into partisan battles. And most importantly, she put mainstream media on notice. The days of unchecked, one-sided coverage are coming to an end. Are we witnessing the downfall of mainstream media dominance, or will they claw their way back to power by any means necessary? One thing is certain: Caroline Leavitt isn't backing down, and a growing number of Americans stand ready to watch these confrontations play out. If you've been waiting for someone to shake the table, she might just be the one holding all the cards now. What do you think? Is this the tipping point where alternative voices finally break the old guard's monopoly on public opinion? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more unfiltered looks into the behind-the-scenes power struggles rocking the media world, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, because this drama is far from over, and you don't want to miss what happens next.